Let's see. Okay, it's working. Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And I suppose I'll just turn the music down on this thingamajigger. Well, maybe I'll have it up a little bit for the background. But today I'm going to show you guys, basically, I finally found a way to be able to make content without having in real life decks. So it really helps because the only way I knew before was through live streaming. So now I've been able to find a way to get combos, deck profiles, and duels for you guys without the hassle that I used to go through in the past, just to, you know, provide to make sure you guys are satisfied. So I grinded a little bit and got some decent replays. There's one of the dudes that I played, which is actually one of my subs that I didn't realize. We ended up playing a long time last night. He was playing Salman Great, so I got a lot of good replays against him. I got some replays against Trap Tricks, against Grim Manju, and Muskets. I just went on a grind with ZEFRA. You guys know how much I love that deck. So I'm going to show you guys some replays with ZEFRA, and I'm going to talk about some of the interactions that I could have done better, or sometimes the duels are just going to showcase me playing the deck as effective as possible, which is going to be a good thing. But where the misplays are and where the mistakes are made, I'm definitely going to talk about that, and you know, we could talk about what could have been done better, things of that nature. So let me see, how do I just hide this? Do I press widget? I don't know, I just, there we go. So I click out of it. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, you see how it was like really hard to name them. I was like, dang, I didn't know I could have named them all the same thing. So I guess actually I could start off with this Grim Manju duel, because this one was actually pretty cool. So I'll go ZEFRA versus Grim Manju game 1. So of course he made me go first. So I'm going to pause for a second. If you see my opening hand, I didn't open that great as far as scales go. But because I'm playing ZEFRAs, if you guys can see my hand, whether ZEFRA Neo resolves or not, I have a guaranteed 2 interruptions minimum. But if the ZEFRA Neo resolves, as you can see, it doesn't have a hand trap, I have guaranteed 3 interruptions plus protection on Providence. So even though this seems like a weaker start, this hand puts up basically 3 interruptions and also guarantees me a follow-up, because I can use one of my interruptions to stop an Ash from being used against my ZEFRA Neo. So that way I can guarantee I get a Providence, so I can be able to set up. And if you see, I have War in my hand, which is exceptional too, so that basically when I resolve ZEFRA Neo to get the Providence, I'll be able to use the War to pop my Windy and one of my opponent's cards. Since he's playing Manju, I didn't know before, but when you're playing Manju, obviously you want to save your War for when they normal summon Manju. But then I clear my scale to search ZEFRA. So the hand doesn't look that optimal, but it actually is optimal. That's one of those instances where your hand doesn't seem insane, and inherently by drawing my traps, this is why I like playing multiples of the traps, if you guys didn't notice, is because I don't have to play into that many hand traps. This hand can only be hand trapped once. So if he has an Ash or a Veiler or an Imperm, it's fine because I still have 2 interruptions right here, and I have a follow-up off ZEFRA Neo, so it's really fine. It's like a neg-1. But I'll continue with the play. So as you see, I Pilum Summon ZEFRA Neo. I obviously went for Providence to immediately get protection. Providence is super important with ZEFRAs, and if you notice, I kept War in my hand because you can actually play it from hand when you have ZEFRA scales. So I just wanted to keep that in my hand to catch my opponent off guard. The ZEFRA Neo, as you can see, search the ZEFRA Providence. I did not negate any of his dangers. The thing with the dangers is that you'd have to summon something that was dangerous. He'd have to summon something that was threatening, so I didn't negate any of the dangers. What he ended up doing was he linked off into the Black Luster Soldier, as you can see. I ended up using War to kill the Manju. I was totally fine with him having the BLS, because I do play Access Code Talker in my extra deck, so I have a way to get over it. So for now, as you guys can see, what I'm doing is I'm setting my plays up by walling up. So all I'm doing right now is walling up, and you can call it stalling per se, but I'm basically building up my resources to make sure that I can deck in and get to the Access Code Talker eventually. So I'll pause here because it's kind of going a little bit fast. So as you see in that line of play, if I go to previous, so let's go previous. Let me click that a couple times. So the line of play I took, I didn't explain that, but the reason why I sent the ZEFRA Core from my deck to my face of extra deck is because he has an effect on Pilum Summon to target one of my scales and special summon it. One of my ZEFRA scales. So the line of play I was trying to go was, I wanted to be able, I didn't want to set up for Gamma yet, because I also considered Lambda making that, but I really, against matchups like this where it's really grindy, you don't want to link off ZEFRA Neo if you don't have to, because leaving it on field is going to allow you to generate more advantage. It's a wall, it's hard to get over. By the time your opponent gets over it, you're going to get more resources. But basically, like I was saying, the line of play I was going for was using Core to target the Thubin and allow me to chain block as well. To summon the Thubin, that's going to be Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1 ZEFRA Neo. Then I just went into Redoer. I went into Redoer so I can keep a floating body no matter what, so that eventually when I build my resources, I can guaranteed make the access code talker. And obviously the Redoer is just really insane for grinding. And also it triggers my field spell to allow me to draw one and discard one, because again, I'm trying to deck in as well, because I was trying to open it into more ZEFRA monsters. So if I would have drawn a good card, I would have just pitched the Gamma, because I feel like in this situation, Gamma is a little bit not redundant, but it's overkill, because I have all the interruptions, especially when you look at his hand, he only has one in hand. But I'm going to keep that. Keep it going. So I searched 9 pillars. As you guys see, I play multiple 9 pillars. 9 pillars is one of the craziest negates in this deck. I set the war because I did not have another scale to play in hand. So when he summons the Pankratops, I'll pause here too because it does move a little bit fast. He summons the Pankratops. What he does is he declares an attack on Redoer. So then I obviously chain the Redoer to banish it. And I knew, what I also was thinking in my mind was, dang, is he gonna activate the Chaos, the Blacklisted Soldier of Chaos? So I thought maybe I should let him just kill, because I knew he was gonna basically not be able to kill this with Pankratops, but he'd have to use the Blacklisted Soldier. So I was thinking, if he redirects into ZEFRA Neo and I let the ZEFRA Neo go, I lose 9 pillars, but I keep War and I keep Divine Strike, which is still 2 interruptions. And then if he tries to activate this, I won't be able to negate and destroy it. So the other thought was to just use Providence to banish, to protect, to leave ZEFRA Neo on field, so that the next time he would actually be able to resolve this, I would have the 9 pillars to negate it and shuffle it if he did. So I put pressure on my opponent in the sense that I put him in a kind of a pickle where he can't resolve Blackluster, because if he didn't read 9 pillars, he would try, but if he does, it'll just get negated and shuffled, and that's my problem right there, and I don't have to waste the excess code talker. So I keep playing, because I didn't do anything to Pankratops. I was just waiting for him to try to use its effect. So since he didn't, I used ZEFRA War on in-phase so that Pankratops could not interrupt my plays. He chained the Pankratops to target the ZEFRA. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I either didn't have Providence or Grave, or I didn't want to waste the Providence protection. But essentially, I stopped the Pankratops, and that's the most important thing, to make sure it didn't interrupt my plays. And then I went for double ZEFRA Neo. So as you can see, I'm still walling up. The ZEFRA Neo is really good for the grind. I just keep walling up, making sure. Oh wow, I got a spell off that. Just making sure that I can keep my field presence. As you can see, that's why I went with the Redoer, to make sure I can keep my field presence. So here, he activated it. And when he activated it, this is something that I want to talk about, because this tripped me out on this app. I'm new to using EdoPro. When he activated the Blackluster, it did not give me a choice to negate. I clicked on both my traps, it wouldn't even let me activate. The only thing it was allowing me to do was use ZEFRA Neo. And as you can see, ZEFRA Neo, blah 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 blah, well in your monster zone you can. The point is, ZEFRA Neo is optional, so it's not like ZEFRA Neo was mandatory, but the EdoPro did not let me activate 9 pillars, because as you can see, I had another ZEFRA Neo, and I was waiting for that opportunity. That's why I did not use Providence. You guys see I have a Providence at Grave. I didn't use it to protect the ZEFRA Neo, because I wanted to see, is he going to activate the effect, and if he doesn't, ZEFRA Neo still searches, so it's a win-win for me. But I was trying to bait him into using this so I could 9 pillars it, but the game did not let me. It didn't make sense to me. It was kind of weird, but continuing on. The Redoer plus me too, because I got a spell off of it. So now, as you can see, this right here, I have enough resources to go basically to clear his board and put a lot of damage. So I went for the Windy to add my extra deck to hand. I used Oracle to search ZEFRA and Pilica. Reason being is because Redoer put ZEFRAs in the graveyard. So the idea I had was to go basically critical mass. And the critical mass was going to be okay because I had Gamma in hand. So even though he had only 1 card in hand, which I'm not going to play around Nibiru on the top essentially, but theoretically I could play through the Nibiru if he had it just by linking any one of these two. It really didn't matter, either one of these two. It could be these two into Cypher and Lambda, so that Gamma becomes live in my hand. But the other thing that I didn't have to worry about, that the reason being is because I had Divine Strike live, because by the time he could Nibiru me, Divine Strike would be live, so I really didn't care. So I got a little bit basically, you could say I didn't really get reckless, but I wasn't playing as carefully because he only had 1 card in hand. That 1 card could be stopped by Divine Strike. I didn't have to worry about this. This is just there as a wall. So I'm just gonna press play now. So I went for another ZEFRA Neo. I linked in the IP. I went for Metaltron. And so if you notice, you may think it's weird to go IP and then it's a Metaltron, but the reason being is because I was trying to get multiple links in my graveyard. So what I did when I set up, there's one thing that I should have done differently in this play. You'll see when I press play, is I should have summoned access code talker to the Blackluster Soldier of Chaos' zone, so that the access code opens 2 zones for me, and then I could just have extra monster zone there for me to use whenever I want to vacate or use it. So continuing, I went Chainlink 1 ZEFRA, Chainlink 2 Pilica, Chainlink 2 to bring back the core, and the ZEFRA Surge. So this is where I was talking about right here, where I should have summoned the access code talker to his zone. It would have been a lot more useful and impactful for me. So even though it's a slight misplay, it's still a misplay to an extent that I could have got better use of my resources in my link zone. You want to try to get the maximum effect and impact out of all the cards you use. So that's what I meant by watching these replays. Sometimes it's not going to be literal misplays, but it's just going to be plays that you could have done better. So it's not always going to be about learning from a mistake that cost you a game, but just learning from an interaction that could have been better. So it's always nice to watch your own replays, which is why I'm glad that I'm able to do this now. I can't really do this in any other instance. So I linked into Lambda. The reason why I linked into Lambda is just so that the Gamma can be live now in my hand as another interruption. I put him in a pinch where I put him on top deck mode, where I have 1, 2, 3 forms of interruption and he only has 2 cards in hand. So I knew I had game at that point, so I feel like I don't even have to go for an OTK, so I didn't have to push any further. I just had secured game. And here he went for the Orochi in battle phase. So the reason why I activated Gamma, since he did Orochi in battle phase, I figured why not get extra damage in. So when he went for the Orochi, I chained Gamma from hand in battle phase to be able to put these 2 extra bodies on field so that I can get more damage. Because I knew I had 9 Pillar and Divine Strike for the 2 cards he had in his hand. The top deck and the card that he had that I know about, which was Cyber Dragon, which really wasn't going to do much. So continuing, I just basically went for a big push. And then main phase 2, I went for Appaloosa. But I didn't link off the ZEFRA so I could keep the Divine Strike and the 9 Pillars being live. So I went 9 Pillars on the Pot of Desires so that I could basically... Oh snap, let me stop right there. I went 9 Pillars on the Pot of Desires so I could put him down just down to 1 card in his hand. I didn't even want to play the risk, so I just shotgunned it on the 9 Pillars. I didn't know he had Cyber Dragon, but essentially he contact fused my access code, as you can see. But I still have Divine Strike and my Appaloosa is too big. So he kind of just passes and I have game next turn. So he surrendered. So that's where the replay is going to end. But there is another game, Grenmanju game 2. So this one, he made me go first again. I did side in Imperms. Now the reason why I sided in Imperms because I know how impactful Imperms against Manju. He already has one in hand. I was thinking either the Imperm's going to be for Manju or Eater of Millions, cards like that. So that's the reason why I sided in the Imperms, because I kind of changed my build since the deck profile. I've been experimenting a lot, but I'll continue, because since he doesn't have hand traps, I have full combo, being Madolche Mageline and anything that gets to another scale. That's full combo for me, because that's my whole setup. So I went Pet, I went into Gallant Granite to search for my Anger Translator. I detached the Pet so that my Mageline, if I ever top deck one, it wouldn't be called by. Even though it's a weird hindsight play, I'm just playing around everything as possible. And in this instance, I went aggressive. I didn't care if he had a Nibiru. The reason being is because I knew I was going to search out my counter trap and I would have an impermanence in hand, so I was totally fine that if he had the Nibiru, I was going to play into it. I was not playing around Nibiru because I know his deck, it's really hard for him to OTK without Grenmanju, and I had the Imperm and the counter trap, so I was comfortable that I could get the Nibiru out of his hand, give myself a super fat token that he really wouldn't be able to get over, and I'd have the Imperm. So I just played into it. And as you can see in this instance, what happened, if I take a couple steps back, basically, I went into Calamities. I didn't shotgun it on standby because I didn't want to have to waste my Divine Strike if he had an Imperm. So I waited till he committed a card. He committed Cosmic Cyclone targeting my Imperm. I didn't use the negate because I didn't care about Imperm because I had Calamities. So I used that opportunity to chain Calamities, calling Dark because I knew he was playing Dangers, to make sure his Dangers in hand can't activate. So he ended up basically, backwards, everything resolves. He banished my Imperm, which is fine. Even if he has Manju, he can't attack, so I was okay with that. But here's where it got spicy, because he had Super Poly in hand, and I called Dark. This affects the whole field, so he was able to Super Poly me, so we'll continue that play. So all Calamities did was essentially stall out for 1 turn, and it gave him a free boss monster that I would have to deal with. So that was an instance where Calamity didn't get too much for me. And you see right there, I top decked into a Mageline. If I'm not mistaken, I top decked. No, never mind. I already had him opening hand. So remember how I was saying I Gallant Granite to detach the predecessor? I didn't detach the Mageline just in case, you know, the Gallant Granite stays alive, so that next turn I could use Mageline without playing into a call by. So I was just trying to play around everything that mattered for me. The Nibiru didn't matter for me because I knew that I was just going to take a card out of his hand, and he was gonna give me a monster that was so big he has to use Grim Manju to attack over it, and I was confident because I had impermanent counter trap. I didn't know he had Cyclone, but I knew if he tried to smack into my token, I could imperm his Manju, and that could make him eat so much damage. So anyways, continuing, I went Mageline for Mageline, I pin out ZEFRA Niu. All I did was grab 9 pillars. I'm confident he can't OTK me. I have a wall. I still have double counter trap, so I'm really okay with this. So he starts using dangers. Now for me, I didn't negate any of his dangers. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't negate his Bigfoot. Excuse me. The reason being is because I felt that if basically the Bigfoot missed, he would just target one of my cards that I could use Providence to protect it from. And if the Bigfoot didn't and he would summon it, I would still have Providence to protect. So I wanted to save 9 pillars for an impactful card. But the moment he summoned out the Eater of Millions and he revealed the Thunderbird, basically I activated the 9 pillars on the Thunderbird because my mindset was, okay, it's hit or miss. If Thunderbird misses, I have to use a counter trap no matter what. So I might as well use the counter trap now, because if I don't, then Thunderbird just hits the field, he draws another card, and then that's just too much pressure because he can make a rank 8 right here, and that could just be a lot too much for it could be too much for me. So I went 9 pillars on the Thunderbird because also it allowed me to trigger ZEFRA Niu to search ZEFRA War, because I just wanted to keep and make sure that the board, basically the game state is going to be as simplified as possible, and make sure that I could prevent him from going critical mass. So he normaled the Mothman. I went War targeting this because this was going to be a pain to get over, so I targeted the Starving Venom. I had the counter trap for the Eater of Millions, but it wasn't that much of a problem. The Starving Venom was a big body and a problem, so I went War for this. And as you can see, all I do is just pin summon the ZEFRA Niu, and even though it doesn't seem like much, it's still a lot. Pin summon ZEFRA Niu and Zephyrs, that's what I always say in my deck profile. This card's crazy. ZEFRA Niu is super strong. As you see, he tried to Eater of Millions. I went 9 pillars, then I went for War. So I just used War to target the Bigfoot. Now, one thing that I want to point out that I could have done better is I could have just used Providence, basically, to protect my ZEFRA Niu when I went 9 pillar. So that way, it would force him to use the Bigfoot to attack over the ZEFRA Niu. Then I could search War, and then I could just keep the War in my hand for when it matters, and I could just deal with the Mothman and the Bigfoot in another way. So that's one thing I could have done different, so I don't waste resources, because basically, if I would have done it in that order, I could have kept ZEFRA War in hand and not had to use it. But the way I played it out, so basically I could have squeezed a bit more out of my resources, just that one ZEFRA Niu. So it's not a big misplay that cost the game, but it's a misplay in the sense that I could have got more out of my cards, and you always want to get the maximum value out of your cards, and that's important. So right here, I opened Deneb. As you guys can see, my build has changed. I went Deneb for ZEFRA Thubin, so I'm just going to go critical mass now. So I chain blocked, I used Thubin, target Thubin, and the Mothman. I let the Thubin go instead of Providencing because I have gate 0 for a low scale. So I went to simplify the game state further. I went for Redoer. Now he's in a grindy situation. I have double counter trap and Redoer. Redoer is just going to keep getting me resources, so he's scooped right there. And that's the end of that one. For the next replay, I'm going to go into... oh yeah, I think this is a guy's dude that he didn't even let me play out the rest of the game. So this was against Altergeist. He got to go first. He opened Spoofing, Manifestation, and Compulse. So I'm going to swap around to my side. So he chained Spoofing to my Deneb and got a Multifaker. If I was him, I honestly would have searched for a Marionetter since I already had a Multifaker in hand. But I guess maybe he was thinking like some kind of big brain play that I wasn't thinking of. Maybe he was like, oh, for my next turn I can Multifaker again. But I still, no matter what, would have searched the Mario. But anyways, he then chains Compulse, which I felt was reckless, targeting my Deneb. So he basically gave me a +2 by bouncing my Deneb back to hand. Because I have a ZEFRA skill that's also a Satellarknight, I could then pin summon this Deneb from my hand to get more resources. So I felt like he was trigger happy by compulsing this, but I think what he was trying to do was make sure I couldn't use this Deneb to bait his Soliquitus to bounce, because I could just attack into his monster. So I see what he was trying to do, I just felt like he could have done it differently. In this game, I don't feel like I messed up really too much. I was expecting a longer game because it was Geist, so I could show you guys how this deck grinds. I opened double War. So this is something where it gets really insane. He scooped before I could even go in on him, but basically I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to use Seliquitas, so he didn't want me to bait Seliquitas with Deneb. I didn't activate ZEFRA's effect yet because I wanted to try to use War first on my field spell to pop the field spell and bait the Seliquitas so that when I use ZEFRA he can't use Seliquitas. So I was basically just going to go ham on him. I was just going to get ZEFRA Divine Strike or 9 Pillars. I had another one in hand, but he scooped before I could even get the better end of it. So that wasn't too much of a impactful or informative replay, but it just shows what happens if you are trigger happy against Zephyrs, because this deck's a crazy good deck. So I'll go to Trap Tricks now. I did the Salad. There's so many Salads games, Salad Migrate games, but I'm going to go against ZEFRA against Trap Tricks. So you see his opening hand. He didn't open too good, honestly. I don't know what this card is. I don't know what is this? Must be special by banishing an insect. Oh, so this is just like a free extender for him. I'm not sure. But basically, I don't know why it's taken so long to load up for me, because it's not showcasing my hand. Let me swap and see what happens. Yeah, it's not even showing my hand. So I think that's kind of like a glitch for this replay. I don't know why it's doing that, but I guess I'll just exit out and go into another one, because I don't want to waste too much time. That's weird. I'll just go straight to game 2, because obviously there was a game 3. I think game 1 I got it though, and game 2 he got it. Yeah, he definitely got this one, because I remember having this in hand. So this is something where you guys can see. I'm going to switch to my end. The reason why I gammaed his Trap Tricks is because I wanted to remove the body from field. I didn't want him to search for any follow-ups and also get it off field, so just in case. And you see he did open full combo. It would have been nuts if I let that resolve, because I know how this deck operates to an extent where getting Sarah on field can just end up being so much resources, because he has Brigadine and Exceed, and I know that these cards are being played in this deck. So I gammaed this to take care of the follow-up he could have got, and now these are dead cards. So my gamma actually put him in a simplified game state. But unfortunately, as you see how I open, I didn't open that great. So here's what I did. I went Predecessor, and I went to activate her effect. Now the reason why, because I could have went Pet, and then just normal him, went Gallant Granite, and search for ZEFRA. But the reason why is because I was either going to bait an interruption, or I was just going to put damage on board. Because when you're playing against these trap decks, you want to try to get damage on board, attack first, and then do your critical plays. But he had the imperm, so lucky for me, which was funny, because I was figuring it's either going to bait an interruption or I'm just going to get damage on board. Since he's playing a slower deck, I feel confident that these two could easily be converted into follow-up rank 4 on the next turn. But since he impermed it, it actually ended up being worse for him. So he impermed the pet, then I just go normal Cyclone, I go for damage first, and then that's what I was trying to do with the pet, was go for damage first. So as you can see in pet's text, basically you're going to see right here, also, and if you do, so basically you can special one from your hand or your deck, except her, and if you do, reduce its level, and also you can't special for the rest of the turn except Madolches. So you have to resolve, basically, it's like one of those things where you have to resolve A and B and C kind of thing, where you're not going to get locked out until you summon. So it's an if you do. So that's what I meant, it's going to bait an interruption, and it's a really strong way to start my combo, because like I said, I was either going to bait an interruption or get damage. I didn't have complete scales, so I wasn't too worried about getting Gallant Granite, because the scale I had was a 7. So even if I get ZEFRA, I could only send a 1 scale, which wasn't going to do anything for me except set up Divine Strike. So in this instance, I got damage on board, then I went for Gallant Granite, and I went for ZEFRA, so I can send, you'll see next, I send a ZEFRA to my face-up extra deck to turn ZEFRA Divine Strike on. One other thing I could have done better, knowing that this deck plays double or nothing, I should have just summoned him in defense. Now, he didn't get to double or nothing me anyways, but the point is, play on everything that you know about. So I should have summoned my Granite in defense, so that if he opened the stones and baited my counter trap, I wouldn't be OTK'd under a double or nothing. But he basically got to set up so much just by being able to allow his one card to resolve. So I feel if he didn't have the evenly match, he was gonna pass turn again, but he had the evenly to bait my counter trap. So here, that's what I'm saying, I lost this game for sure. That's how I know I got game 1. I remember this. I lost this game for sure because he ended up just getting way too many resources on me. He triggered Sarah multiple times. He put me in a simplified game state where I have 2 dead gammas because I already resolved one. So I surrendered because I couldn't do much. Though even if I would have tried to use the stack, I knew that he had set the Nightmare. So it was just like I was going to be playing into that. So I'll go exit. Then I'll go to game 3. So game 3, you can see I opened a really optimal hand where I don't need for the Oracle to resolve. So I went ZEFRA. Obviously, I'm going to go for ZEFRA New. I need to get my engine online. Then I went to Fraxi. I did not pin summon the Windy because I wanted to hold it for a follow-up. I didn't even want to lose out on it. So I just went for very simple. ZEFRA New and 9 Pillars. It seems simple, but it's actually 2 interruptions by itself, which is really strong. So I was confident. But his Mothman ended up making me draw ZEFRA War, so now I could use ZEFRA New to just search ZEFRA Providence, which I was fine with. And he surrendered. Basically, I had full control over the game. I had War in hand, I had Providence. I could just use War in Face to clear that and just pop my field spell, and I had Critical Mass next turn. I was going to start searching out counter traps for the rest of his hand, so I see why he scooped. It's like 25 minutes in, so I'm going to go really quickly. ZEFRA versus Salad game 1. So against the Salad player, as you can see, I'll swap around. He opened way too many hand traps. He didn't have any combo pieces. So he had Ash, Imperm, and another Ash and a Parallel XE. So he Ashes my field spell. I had Providence, so I basically played through the Ash and it didn't matter. So what I did was I set the Divine Strike. I wanted to do that so that I can make sure to get my counter trap online. I didn't want to commit to the ZEFRA core. The reason why I did this, I didn't want to scale ZEFRA core yet, because if I scale it, that means I have to make this with 1 scale. So what I wanted to do is just turn on the Divine Strike. I had Ash, so it didn't matter. Let me go back a little bit. Previous. Because as you can see, I had Ash in my hand too. So that's what I did. So I'll go back again and I'll swap around. So that's why I did what I did to get the Divine Strike live. But if I scale ZEFRA core, now it's going to be stuck there and I can't go for ZEFRA New off ZEFRAP anymore until I clear that. So that's going to hurt me more. So I did that first. I didn't have to use a counter trap. So I ended up using him to make the... I basically used ZEFRAP to send Zefraxi to make him a 1 scale so I could pin summon the same ZEFRA New that I sent the first turn, because I didn't use the ZEFRA Divine Strike. So then it was safe to scale this, because the reason being is because ZEFRA New can search out War, so I can pop this. So I have 4 interruptions right here, being the ZEFRA New can search off the ZEFRA War off 9 Pillars. So that's 2 interruptions by itself. I have the counter trap for another negate, so I have 2 Omni negates. I have Ash and I have a Trident. So my setup's impactful. I feel like I just have full control. I'm confident in this instance. Even though I can't OTK him, I know I can. I just have full control over the game, so it doesn't matter. So I Ashed his Desires. I put him back in the simplified game state. Next turn, I top deck the Mageline. Luckily, he impermed the Mageline, so at this instance, if I wanted to, I could just pin summon ZEFRA New again and basically search it out. Because I could have done this. I could have linked these 2 into a link 2 like Lambda, and then just pin summoned out the Zefraxi and the ZEFRA New and went Critical Mass. But what I did was I kept the game state simplified. I didn't want to have to play into anything if I didn't have to, if it was a Nibiru or anything of that nature. I wanted to keep my only 2 interruptions. So I just did it. I basically played conservative since I knew he was in a top decking situation. So I still have the 9 Pillars and the Divine Strike, which means I can search War. So he scooped up there. I'm going to go down to game 2. So as you can see, he opened the nuts. He's going first now, and he opened the nuts. He opened Debug and Signet Mining. As you can see, I opened Solid 2 because I opened Shrine and Oracle. That's a 2-card combo that gets me a full setup, and I have Zefraxi. So if I was going first, this hand was easily True King of all Calamities, which means he's getting smacked. But he went first. He set up a decent board. He went Sunlight Wolf, and he does have the Roar. So what I'm going to top deck, I think it changes it because I don't remember too much of this, but one thing I will say that I feel like he was too reckless, and he did a misplay for me, even though he's my opponent. I felt right here, I'm going to go back where he was. He didn't have to link all these in a transcode. I felt like what he should have done was just keep the Sunlight Wolf here, overlay these 2 into a rank 4 like Baguska or Dweller or Tornado Dragon, and keep his Rage and his Roar. But what he did was reckless and greedy, and he also was playing more dangerously into Nibiru territory if I had it. So I feel like on this instance, my opponent was misplaying by being greedy, because he ended up getting a Sunlight Wolf that wasn't relinked now, so his Rage is not as impactful as it should be, and now it's a neg 1. The only thing he has online basically is the Roar, so he made it easier for me when he didn't have to. So I feel like he shouldn't have done that, but I guess he was confident in what he was doing. He just wanted to get a bigger Sunlight Wolf, a bigger board. I guess, I don't know what line of play he was trying to take, but for me, I was like, what is my opponent doing? But anyways, I went Shrine, I got Dark Worm. This instance, if the in the other instance where he would have ended on Sunlight Wolf and not transcode, this would have been threatening because now I could just basically, if I could get one more big body like Saiton on field, like if I open Saiton and Dragon Shrine, what I would do in this instance if he didn't do the transcode is I would Shrine out Dragon Dark Worm, Dragon Shrine Dark Worm, get my gate 0, normal summon my Saiton, battle phase, basically declare an attack on the wolf, and what I'll be doing is I'll be baiting out either the Rage or the Roar. Because I have 2 ways to kill Wolf, so he could banish Banelings off the Saiton, and then I could crash the Dark Worm. So he kind of helped himself a little bit, but it still didn't make a difference. So I went Oracle, he went counter attack on the Oracle. What I did here, if you guys see, I didn't know what his other back row was. It was like, no, I think either he sent this or this off Gazelle. I'm trying to remember, but what I was trying to do next was I was trying to basically bait the next interruption. And if I couldn't bait the interruption and it resolved, then I was just going to go for Vortex. I already knew that I had Dark Worm and Extra Deck, so that's why if you guys see, you guys might think, oh, he's crazy, he normaled Ash Blossom. I normaled the Ash Blossom to make the Meteor Burst, so that then I could target my gate 0, so I can basically go for Absolute Vortex, which would give me a negate, so that way I could at least have some sort of critical mass. But the problem is, right here as you can see, he had the Rage. But if he didn't have the Rage, it would have been a little bit better because at least I could wall up with the Vortex and defense. But he had that game. I did the best that I could. In that instance, I didn't really replay. And then I'll go to game 3, and that's going to be the end of the video. I'll do the other replays next time. So as you can see, I opened full combo. In this deck, Dragon Shrine plus Magdalene's full combo. Dragon Shrine plus a normal summon, still pretty much full combo. Just minus 1 extra resource. He didn't have any hand traps at all, so I got to just basically play Solitaire. It is good for me because I opened a crazy hand. Not only did I open a way to search out my high and my low skill off of Dragon Shrine and the Madolche play, but I have Zefraxi in hand, which is less work for me, so now I can go Calamities, Counter Trap, Critical Mass. So I had complete control over this game. What I didn't notice is he had a Rage in his hand. You guys are going to see later on in this duel that the Rage actually came in handy for him. If you guys see, the reason why you're going to think, oh, why didn't he search the Counter Trap? The reason being is because I can't make Calamities without Oracle. So in this instance, as you see, I really did plus a lot. I have complete scales, I have a full setup. I still have 3 cards in hand. I have amazing follow-ups. This is the ZEFRA Windy could get me something. This could give me another play for my next turn. And Magdalene's a whole nother follow-up. So all my cards replace themselves. So I plus pretty heavy, and I went for Oracle because I was going for the Calamities play. One thing I will say is I was reckless by playing into Nibiru territory. That's one thing that I did do incorrectly. So that's something I could have done better, is not going to Calamities. But if I didn't go into Calamities, I was only going to end on 1 or 2 interruptions. So by playing around Nibiru, I put up a mediocre board that Salads could still wax because it's Salads. So I went risky. I was like, basically, okay, either he has a Nibiru or he doesn't. So I did that. But if you guys felt it's more safe, that's why I say something I could have done better is I could have not played into Nibiru territory. But also pay attention that I summoned 4 times before I even pin summon. So I was playing into Nibiru territory whether I went to the Calamities combo or not. That's something else I want you to keep in mind. But he went Foxy. Then I chained Calamities. I wanted to wait till he had a card. I didn't want to lose to Imperm because I didn't have any interruptions besides the Calamities. So I had to wait for him to control a card. Now he opened Rage and Roar, so now, even though I have him under Calamities, he has a fully reactive back row for my next turn. So I chained Calamities, I called Fire, just because he caught my low skill and my Calamities, so it's no longer a problem for me. But now I have Gallant Granite, so what happens here? That's why if you see what I was talking about my hand, the 3 cards I had in my hand, I had way too much resources on him. And Salman Grades can plus hard. They have a lot of recursion, but so do ZEFRAs. And I had way too much up on him. So even if I couldn't OTK him, the thing was, look at my hand. I had absolute complete setup. I had amazing follow-ups. All my guards are going to continue replacing themselves. My engine's online, so I'm winning. The way I feel is I'm winning no matter what. So what I did here is, you see, continuing, I went straight to battle phase. The reason why I did that was because I didn't want to play into another Salman Great back row. I don't think I knew he had Roar, but I was just playing around it, which was smart for me, because if I didn't go into battle phase, now I couldn't OTK him, but if I didn't go to battle phase, I would have been playing into a Roar that could have simplified the game state in a stance where I probably wouldn't have been able to get out an interruption. So in this instance, I just went straight to battle phase, attacked over his Sunlight Wolf, Gallant Granite, and then he protected with Bell. Then I crashed with Dark Worm, killed it, and then I swung with 15 with Zephyr Windy. Now I feel like he either has to have a hand trap, or this could just be a blank back row like a Cosmic or anything like that. But I was pretty confident, so I went Zephyr Mew, Core, and the Zephyr Saiton. I did not use the Core to special the Zefraxi because I want to keep my low scale. So what I did here is I went for Dweller, got my counter trap, and I felt really confident that I had full control over the game. So I did Dweller on standby, because at this point I'm like, if he has input, it doesn't even matter. I have counter trap. You know, it's later on into the game. So he double linked his Bailings. I did not use the counter trap on the Gazelle in hand, nor did I use it on field. Obviously on field that's worse because he has Bell. The reason being is because I wanted to save my counter trap. I felt like because I have Dweller, I don't care about Gazelle resolving, nor do I care about Sunlight Wolf because I have counter trap. And as you can see, it was a Gozen match. So it's a good thing I see the counter trap, but I ended up using Zephyr Ward to pop it anyways. So as you can see, I still have complete control over the duel. I have 9 pillars. Now, this is something that I should have done in this duel. I should have activated my Zephyr Path, but I got greedy by wanting to get 1 extra use out of my Dweller. So what I did was I basically kept the Dweller, because if you read Path, I should have activated it anyways because it's stronger than Dweller, but that's just me trying to get the most out of my cards. Once I activated it, I tributed everything but Zephyr, so I would have lost my Dweller. So what I did was I kept Path. I'm like, okay, I have control. I'm going to just use Path next turn after I use the Dweller. I should have done that. Reason being, because I ended up burning through all my 7 scales later on in this duel, where I couldn't even make Zephyr the 7 scale to activate the Zephyr Path in the first place. You'll see as we get there. So I went pin summon to Zephyr Windy and Zefraxi. This play was nice. So this is where I messed up, where I was talking about. I didn't have anything else to make Zefrath a scale 7. So what I was trying to do here was go into Chao Fang for damage. So I went swing, swing, swing. And basically at this point, what I was trying to do was link into Zephyr Metaltron and keep the Zephyr Neo, and then activate Path. But what I didn't realize, what I didn't pay attention to, was I didn't have any more 7 scales left in my deck to make this a 7 scale to activate the Path. Now it didn't matter because I won the duel anyways, but that was just something I should have activated the Path earlier. So I should have basically kept my Dweller, sacrificed my Dweller for Path. That's what I should have done. But I ended up winning anyway, so that's it, you guys. Hopefully you guys found this informative. If you guys play Zephrys, this is a great way to have a bigger learning curve on the deck. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. Have a beautiful night. And I'm going to say a quick prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Thank you, Lord. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Thank you, Father. Amen. Alright, deuces is wild, you guys. I'm going to try to upload this either tonight or tomorrow. Peace.